I tried sitting down and thinking about what was the main thing that like correlates all autistic individuals. What is it? What is the thing that like binds us together? And that is fear. And I'll talk about that in a second. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Aspie World. So I'm autistic. My name is Dan, by the way. And I was thinking to myself, what is the one thing that kind of groups us all together? What is autistic 101, autistic individuals? What is one of the biggest things? Now, it's fear-based issues, but the fear comes from not being understood or not being heard and valued. And what that means is autistic individuals don't feel heard and valued because they are sometimes said to be in their own head, or we're said to, we don't understand what other people are saying, or we don't understand, what the social kind of norms are. But on the same time, we have to think about the fact that other people don't understand where we're coming from. Other people don't really get what we see difficult. They don't understand why we act in a certain way, why we don't act in a certain way, what we find difficult. And it really got me thinking of when I was a kid, when I was younger, because I feel like a lot of the issues we have now as adults on the autism spectrum stem from the fact that when we were younger, we had trauma because it was the first time we've ever experienced these things, right? And what I mean by this is, I'll give you an example. Rejection-sensitive dysphoria is a condition that comes along with autism and ADHD, actually quite profoundly. And it's kind of, RSD is the name we give to it, but it's thinking about the fact that sometimes we think we're always wrong, right? So when we speak to people, we always think we've done something wrong. Hey, have I offended you? Oh my God, have I upset you? And we're constantly asking for validation from people because we're trying to find out, have I upset this person? Did I just, have they taken offense to something I've said? And this comes from the fact that we are not just oversensitive, hyper apologetic kind of areas. Okay, well, maybe sometimes. But what it comes from is when we were kids and we're learning to do things, we were constantly told, that's not how you do it. You're wrong. Come over here, do this properly, right? And as autistic individuals, two things happened. One is that we were behind on our social development and understanding the norms of society. And then the second thing is that we take things literally. And so it's as literal then as it is now. And so our brains constantly tell us that we're doing things wrong. We're always in the wrong. We're never gonna get it right because we're autistic people. And so now we have that kind of trauma from when we were kids setting us up for falls when we're adults. But what does that really mean in the bigger picture? Well, when I was a kid, I was just constantly in fear because I felt nobody understood me. Nobody understood my needs. There was never a shared idea. My mum and dad would have one way of dealing with me, and then my brother and sister would have a way of dealing with me. Then I go to school, and the school would have a different way of dealing with me. And my doctors and my psychologists, my psychiatrists, they were all, oh yeah, well, they treat me in a different way, and they didn't really know. So then you'd have to rely on my mum to be, what has Dan done last week? And my mom's, well, I can't remember. And so all of those things, I believe, were super important to the future and the validation of my success and my growth as a person. Because imagine not knowing what what was causing you triggers, then how are you supposed to even identify them in the future to stop them happening, right? Because meltdown triggers, burnout, shutdown, all of those things, we need to identify those triggers and we need to kind of keep track of those, because if we don't, then we're never going to be able to move on or progress or help, right? And I think that's super interesting because the bigger scale, the bigger picture here is that now I'm an adult. I actually talk to my therapist and my doctor and my partner and my children. They all know what I don't like, what I do like, because I can advocate for myself now. And I just wished I had this when I was a kid. And so I was doing some digging about this. And just a side note, actually, I was doing some digging to find out what would be the best way to do this. And I thought to myself, well, an app or a website or a journal or a diary that everybody could have access to would be ace. And I actually found a cool app. It's called Village Metrics, I think. Village Metrics. Okay, so the app's called Village Metrics. And it is actually pretty cool. You can load in your child or the person that you're caring for in here. And you can also then send an invite to the care team, school, other parents if you're kind of a co-parenting team. And it's kind of cool because you journal all the things in there and then everyone has access and everyone can comment on it and see it. It's a centralized hub for it's primarily, I guess, for parents, but I think it's not going to stop anyone who's looking after someone who's on the autism spectrum with a shared care team And it's amazing. And it's actually very private. I checked and it actually has all the GDPR and HIPAA compliance. This thing is very, very cool. Now, I will leave a link because I think this is so important. I'll leave a link for this down below or a card here somewhere on YouTube. And if you're watching on Facebook, I'll put the link in the comment. But that is a perfect example of how we can improve the value or the validation of autistic individuals, especially when they're younger, to stop this happening, when we're older, where we feel invalidated. And the fear comes from the fact that when we're invalidated, we feel like nobody understands us. If nobody understands us, then they're not going to have any trust in us or have any value input onto us. And so that kind of gives us a reinforcement of the rejection sensitivity dysphoria, where we say, oh, we don't have the audacity or the right or the insight or the authority to do X, Y, or Z, right? And that really, really interests me. So one of my main things is trying to kind of help coach people out of this and then reverse that kind of thought process so that they can become more confident adults, right? And I do have free training and a free ebook all about this that you can get right now from www.bulletproofbrain.org, if that's something you want to do. It is linked in my videos and the link in my bio if you just go there. But if you're, interested about this, and you can't find it, just comment and I'll link you to it. But I think that for us as autistic adults, there's two things. Obviously, one is having an app like the Village Metrics app that I mentioned, because it gives us shared care plans for our kids and caregivers, if we are dealing with children on the autism spectrum as well, or if we're looking after an adult on the autism spectrum. But not just having a shared care plan, but also having a personal development. How do I improve myself? How do I go forward? What can I do to improve how I feel about myself? Not improve yourself for other people, but improve yourself for you, right? And I guess that's what I'm doing with my coaching program. I do a coaching mentorship program, and it's really interesting. So I started doing coaching one-on-one with people, and then people asked for more in-depth on some of my programs, like the Bulletproof Brain. And so I moved to saying, okay, what if I mentored you one-to-one every day? And people were kind of, okay, cool. So they were getting that feedback one-to-one, and I was actually helping them in real time one-to-one personally, and giving them that time. And it worked so well. And it works so well, actually. I've just allowed applicants to kind of apply to this. You can book a free call with me and you can talk about it with me. And you can do that right now. You can go to the link down below, or just go to the link in my bio and look for one-to-one mentorship. And if you click that, then you can just go through, book a free call with me. It doesn't cost anything. Get on call me. And then we can discuss if it's the right fit for you. Now, I will say that the mentorship is something that I do charge for, and it is of an investment on your behalf, but there's also a payment plan. But it's 90 days unlimited access to me, day and night, videos, WhatsApp calls. We hop on video calls daily if that's what you want. You can hop on video calls twice a day if you want, but it's really good. And it's changing the lives of so many autistic adults. And I really found that's where I wanted to go. That's the thing, right? That's what I wanted. And so I am determined that we together can build autistic adults' future without fear and without fear of fear of validation and lack of insight and vision. I think we can do this, and together we're gonna do some amazing things. All right, guys, peace.